I was listening to Obsidian's video talking about the spinster bubble, and he's reiterating Aisha Fines, or Faines, however you pronounce your name. And he was talking about my video when I talked about the imprint. I don't know what it is about people, and black men in particular. I don't get it. I once told a professor that a PhD carries weight. And if you have a PhD, it's almost like being pre-selected. People will automatically believe you, for most part, if you have a PhD, because you have been certified by the collective to expound or expand on whatever it is that you're saying. And if you don't have a PhD, it doesn't matter what you say or how much evidence that you show that something does exist, people poo-poo on it. Now, because me and Ram don't have PhD degrees, and we didn't write a book, and we put in colloquial terms about a phenomena that has existed since human beings have been around, probably even before there were human beings, when we were pre-human beings, because it's a biological, a psychoneurobiological function that exists for a extremely good reason. For human beings that have a culture, Freud called it your superego, that determines your morals, your sense of right and wrong, your cultural instructions, all that kind of stuff. Okay, that is set and that is programmed. Human beings are programmable. That's the way they come. They don't come complete. They don't come in like snapping turtles or birds or something like that, even though birds get imprinted by their parents. Birds come biologically imprinted to like certain things, like a peacock, a female peacock. She has an imprint of a male by his tail feathers. Now, everybody agrees that the symmetrical shape or the width of a woman's hips, blah, 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 is pre-selected by a biology for men to desire them. They have all these formulas, the golden mean, all this crap about why men select certain women, and vice versa as far as women. They have all these formulas. And then you can get into the cultural piece where certain men and certain women are selected by cultural information. Now, everybody knows this. Everybody accepts this because it's in a book. White men have written on it and expounded upon it for hundreds of years. It's not new. But then everybody acts like the imprint or the perfect, the visual image of your ideal woman or your ideal man is something like it's a leap of faith. It's like a moonshot. It's like Einstein's theory of relativity that before it's actually confirmed. And all the imprint that me and Ram talk about is just an extension of what actually went before. It's a different description. So since it's two black guys, they say that actually came up with it, even though me and Ram constantly show you proof. Constantly show you proof. You know, I've talked about it, and I showed you in TV shows. I've showed you in Yana Van Zandt. I showed it at least 3 or 4 episodes where the imprint was actually in progress out of the mouths of the women themselves. Me and Ram didn't come to this just because we all of a sudden, fell on our heads and boom, we just woke up one day and says, oh, this is an imprint. No, it's a phenomenon that we experienced ourselves in the women that we dated. It's also a phenomenon by talking to other women about why they choose certain men. And after hearing it thousands of times, we started to come up with a picture. Okay, this is a phenomenon. These women are choosing these guys for a particular reason. So you start investigating and you start asking other questions and getting deeper. And this is what you come up with. Now, how can two guys that have never physically met have the same experience when we're on opposite ends of the country. And it actually matches up with actually what people do. Nobody ever asked that question. Everybody always oh, well, it's just because she did it. Well, there's other reasons why she did something. Well, what about this person? Well, that person did it because this, that, or the other. Well, what about this person? Well, that doesn't count. They just have bad character. We only hear about the women that actually screwed up their lives. There are plenty of women that have successful marriages that have gone on that you never hear about and been married 50 years that don't talk about it. The vast majority of people that have been imprinted or have a certain imprint or ideal person get married. When their imprints kind of match up, you get married, they stay married. You wonder how come they stay married. But we only hear about the imprint, or the imprint becomes obvious when it goes wrong. The sexual imprint doesn't mean that you have the imprint and it doesn't work for you, and it's the reason why you fail. No, you could just as easily succeed. Most times you will succeed and you will stay happily married if that person is reasonably close to your imprint. I would say the vast majority. Everybody always asks, why do guys pick a slightly altered version of the same woman? Or why a woman dates basically the same type of guy? A lot of people say it is just the way it is. That's what she likes. Nobody asks why she likes it or why he likes it. Why does a dude give an Instagram model thousands of dollars when he's never met her? Huh? Well, let's get into this. There's two people that had two psychiatrists or psychiatrists, branches of psychiatry that are very, very famous. That's used all the time. They use it they use these two people's works in advertising. They use it to actually have people go to war. They have a whole branches of psychology built on these two psychiatrists' work. They're very, very famous. You know who they are before I even say it. It's called Freud and Jung. The father of psychology talks about the imprint, but he talks about it in terms that you can't understand. Freud says your first sexual imprint, whether you're a male or female, is who? If you're a female, it's your father. The Electra complex. People think it's just because the Electra complex is supposed to be a disorder. Now, if you screw your father, yes, it is. But the Electra complex gets transferred to a guy that, in Freud's terms, get to a man that is similar to your father. Because before social media, the person or the man that had most impact on your sexual selection or woman's psyche is her father. Who is a man's imprint? His first imprint is who? Well, obviously his mother. Your Pedius Rex imprint. You kill your father, you marry your mother. Your first sexual imprint is your mother. So it informs you on the type of woman that you will probably like or be attracted to. Now, everybody accepts that. Everybody accepts that. Everybody accepts that who your mother is and what she's like will actually influence on the women that you like. And sometimes if depending on how your mother feels about herself, it'll be the exact opposite. Donovan Sharp talks about it all the time. Donovan, how come you don't like black girls? Why do you date white girls and Hispanic girls? He tells the story about his mother. He's told stories about his mother and what his mother was like, and why now I wouldn't say the aversion, but he doesn't have the attraction for black women. That, along with what he went through in school, his first imprint is not a black woman. A similar thing is with women. Very similar. Who you like, who you are sexually attracted to, who gets your crank going, is informed by your mother and your father. Let's go to Jung, how he talks about the imprint. In fact, I'm doing this for my ladies. Jung actually advanced that theory and made it broader. He didn't call it Electra and Appius. He called them animus and anima. Now you can either go esoteric, which is something the esoteric people knew way, way, way backwards, which is where Freud and Jung drew upon these particular images. But the animus and anima are actually real, and they have been constantly reaffirmed that this theory, this psychiatric theory, is actually what's happening and how people interact. And there's thousands and thousands of cases. There's branches and branches of Jungian psychology that actually have reaffirmed that this is actually true. In fact, they use what Jung says about the imprints or the animus and anima, and they actually use this in advertising. They use these archetypes to attract women and attract men to their products or their services or their movies or TV shows. What does Jung say about your imprint? What is it informed? The ideal woman or the ideal man is informed by. First of all, it extends what Freud say. Your mother and your father inform your imprint. What did me and Ram say? Your first imprint is your mother and your father, or who passes for your father figure. If you don't have a father and your mother dates around, the kind of guys that you like will be impressed upon about the type of men, because she's going to date a certain type of guy that she brings around your household. And the one that the man that woman connects with will be her imprint. That's the first basis of her imprint. And then society will actually extend that imprint out into society, whether he's the hot guy on TV. He could be Michael Jackson as a kid. He could be Shamor Moore. He could be Michael Jordan. He could be a Tupac with tattoos and saggy pants. That will imprint on that woman, and she will crave that kind of guy for the rest of her life. Now, she may not marry that kind of guy. She might even date other kinds of men, but she will always like that particular kind of guy. Now, people accept this because when Freud says that, oh, well, he's got degrees and he's got books, and oh, yeah, we can agree with that. And they can accept Jung because, oh, he's Carl Jung and we know his work and he's famous and he's wrote a ton of books and he's just accepted. But these two black guys that we have no idea who they are, even though their information is pretty sound, they have to be full of shit because they don't have a book. Even Rollo Tomasi, who doesn't have a degree, doesn't have a PhD, but because he's famous and he's got information that has been correct, he says the same thing. Now, Isha Faines would be a good example for what? An alpha widow. In red pill parlance, which most of these guys are most of my subs and most of my audience is red pill. They know what an alpha widow is. Aisha Faines is a alpha widow. Not only did she choose her alpha she was imprinted by her alpha, which is why she dealt with him over a series of 12 years. She accepted herself being the number 2, when even then it didn't make sense to her. And she realized that she basically dealt with the same kind of guy in her 20s. She's probably still dealing with the same kind of guy. In fact, if you listen to her on the grapevine, she still likes the same kind of guy, even as she says she wouldn't deal with it in a million years. And we know that's bullshit. I mean, Jung said right out of his mind, right out of his mouth, if that particular guy, her imprint, says the right things, he's the fellow, no matter what he is. Now, Jung said that. But when two black guys say that, all of a sudden it's bullshit. Black people always want to reinterpret your evidence. You could show if you're black and a black person doesn't believe what you're saying, you can show them 1,000 examples. You can show them examples in their own life and they still won't believe you. In fact, me and Ram have explained this theory up and down and sideways And because Rom said it was a womb imprint because that's the language that he used. Now he could have used obscure Greek term, and people probably would have accepted it because it's an obscure Greek term, right? It's this fancy academic term that Rom would have actually used, and people wouldn't have had a problem with it. But since he called it a womb imprint, everybody's focusing on her pussy. The reason Rom said it is a womb imprint is because a woman's emotional core, her reason for being, what her whole existence is centered around is her womb. She's a reproductive factory, and her womb informs her of the kind of guy she needs to select. In fact, everybody says it. Why does a woman pick a man? Because he gets her pussy wet. So thus, if she selects a man because it gets her pussy wet, where's her pussy? Her pussy is her womb. So Rom actually extrapolated that and calls it a womb imprint. What gets that woman's pussy wet, what gets her crank going, and what kind of guys that will consistently get her pussy wet is a womb imprint. She's imprinted on a particular kind of guy. Because he said that, everybody associates it with sex. You're fucking this woman and she's been imprinted by your dick, which is not what Rom said, but that's the way people take it. Rom gave you 3 different checkpoints that a man would have to meet to actually get an imprint. In fact, we're just talking about that. Well, it depends on how he fucks me. Okay. Well, why did you let this particular guy fuck you? Well, it's because he said, and he said something and he was smooth. Okay. So why there's thousands of guys that try to talk to you. How come you let this guy stop and let this guy talk to you? Well, it's because of his image, the way he looked. 1, 2, 3. And there's a lot of guys that are smooth and good looking that don't complete the circuit because he can't screw her right. He can't bring her to orgasm. So she will like the guy. She will think that he's cute. He will be her type, but he doesn't give her an orgasm. So he's no good. She has to toss him aside. I don't know what it is. And as far as this is concerned, and Rom is the same way. I don't care if you think I'm full of shit. I really don't. I don't care if you disagree with me. I really don't. Disagree with my evidence. I get so much pushback about the imprint. And it doesn't matter how many times people say it, how many times people actually do it, and how many times it actually shows up in real life, people will still disagree with it. Oh, it can't be that. Well, no, it's just because black women have bad behavior and they're fucking and sucking the worst type of men. Well, how do you explain white women? How do you explain white women doing the same thing? Or Asian women doing the same thing? Or Korean women doing the same thing? Are they fucking and sucking the worst type of men? Indian women, same thing. Muslim women, the same thing. They fucking and sucking the worst type of men. Even married women that have been married 30 years to a guy that they don't particularly like having sex with. If they could cheat, who would they cheat with? When I talked about women cheating in the imprint, I played Alan Roger Curry that said exactly the same thing. And one thing I have to give Alan Roger Curry credit for something. He has agreed with the imprint from day one because he's seen it over and over again. He knows what I'm talking about. I would venture to guess that if you talk to the rational male, he'll say exactly the same thing. Why do women choose a certain kind of guy? Her alpha. Where does that come from? What informs that guy to be her alpha? Why does she select, even as a young girl, select one guy over another? That's always been the question. And everybody A whole bunch of people have had different opinions or different takes on the same thing, the same phenomenon. And all me and Ram did was just take what's already there, what's already happening, what Freud said, what Jung said, what a whole bunch of other people have said, and actually expanded the same theory. Just put it in different language so that black men can actually understand it better. That's it. To say that it doesn't exist is bullshit, because too many people have actually said it exists, documented that it exists over hundreds of years. Now, you can disagree with how we describe the theory, how we describe the elephant, but the elephant does exist, and it's in plain sight. It happens every day with just about everybody. And every time I question a woman about her imprint, every time I question a woman about her imprint, it shows up. Even women that say they don't have an imprint, if you talk to them long enough, they start telling you about the type of guy they pick and why they pick that guy. And who was the first guy that like that actually they allowed to have sex with. And you can override your imprint. Yes, you can. You can personally override your imprint. You can choose to go in a different path. You actually can. If you're aware of it, especially if you're aware of it, if you're conscious of who you pick and it's no good for you, you can choose something else, but you will still desire that particular person. You just have to work with it. If you're an addictive person and you know that you can be addicted to drugs very easily, what do you have to do? You have to stay away from drugs. You can't take them. Even though you have a proclivity to abuse drugs, your conscious ego can choose to stay away from it because you're aware of it. A lot of people are not aware of it. What we're trying to do is not saying that you cannot fix or override your imprint. What we're saying is to be aware of it, and be aware of it if you're a man choosing a woman, and vice versa if you're a woman choosing a man. Especially if you're teaching young girls, who do you let up into your womb? What kind of guys, what type of guy through social media and interaction do you let into your psyche? If you're a mother or a father, what kind of men or boys do you let around your daughter? It's not rocket science, folks. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about this. I didn't want to stretch it out into an hour. A lot of people disagree with you, and you ask them what's their theory about why things happen. A lot of people say, well, these are just bad people, or they're just fuck ups, or they're just stupid. They don't know what they're doing. How about the successful relationships that we don't talk about? Why a particular person picks a particular kind of woman, or a particular type of woman. Where does that come from? Whether, if a dark skinned dude picks only light skinned women, or a dark skinned woman picks light skinned dudes with green eyes and curly hair, or a light skinned woman picks the opposite. Where does that come from? Anyway, I'm gonna cut out of here. This is BGS out.